Step behind the scenes of Hollywood with SallyWood, a star-studded comedy and loving tribute to Oscar-nominated legend Sally Kirkland in her final leading role. Directed by award-winning screenwriter and filmmaker Xaque Gruber, the film chronicles Xaque's personal journey from rural Maine to Los Angeles, hoping to meet his idol Kirkland, only to find her career in shambles. What follows is a detailed, often disastrous mission to resurrect her fading star and return her to the red carpet. Featuring Tyler Steelman, Jennifer Tilly, Eric Roberts and Keith Carradine, SallyWood is a witty, touching look at second chances, ageism, and the enduring power of fandom. It's a love letter to the legends. Please welcome Xaque Gruber to Face the Music with Joby Rogers.
It's Xaque Gruber, and it's time to face the music with Joby Rogers. Hi.
Hey, Zach.
Finally, we meet. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you.
No, my pleasure, man. Thank you for taking the time.
I think I screwed up last week.
You were going through it. I get it, man. I get it.
It was a lot. It's been a roller coaster week. A roller coaster is an understatement.
So first, I want to express my condolences for your loss. I'm so sorry about that.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, it's really just mystifying and cosmic that as Sally passes into spirit, as she liked to call death and dying, that the movie is released simultaneously.
I know.
It's a wild thing to have that all happen in one fell swoop.
I know you grew up admiring Sally, and then you had the honor of working alongside her.
Yeah.
So again, with that, I really express my deepest condolences for your loss.
Thanks, Joe.
So getting to your projects, what did the filmmaking process teach you about the difference between the myth of celebrity and the reality of the person? And how did you reconcile those two figures in your directional vision?
Okay, well, that's such an interesting question because the filmmaking process, really just the life process, meeting Sally. The day I walked into her apartment for the first time and looked around and went, this is no bigger than my apartment. This is a cluttered shrine to herself. And she's been living in this apartment since the 80s. The apartment in the movie is actually her apartment. She let the camera crew and cast and everybody and anybody just come into her apartment and, hang out. She was very bohemian that way and very welcoming, and she was always an exhibitionist. So she loved to just showcase herself and was very comfortable with others. Yeah, I learned that the Sally Kirkland that I fantasized about meeting was this, wealthy, glamorous, maybe living in Beverly Hills in a mansion with a butler and chandeliers. And her life wasn't that at all. And as you see in the movie, at times she even has troubles affording a magazine, and her auto payments. Here's a woman who's been in hundreds of movies and television shows and high profile movies and shows and Broadway and theater and everything. It's still tough to make ends meet. So I think the movie, a part of it, and this wasn't necessarily intentional, but I just wanted to tell the actual story of me and Sally. And the actual story was, I was working with a famous actress who was basically kind of just getting by financially, just scraping by financially.
I want to touch on that, man, because I saw that in the movie, and because you presented it kind of in a comedic form sometimes. And sometimes, because of what you were just saying, sometimes the look was unflattering. A look at veteran actors who struggle with fading fame. And so how did you navigate the ethical boundary, say, between the affectionate satire and the potential for perceived exploitation of her personal life her vulnerabilities.
Well, this is a interesting fine line because there were so many times which didn't end up in the movie or in the script where I mean there was no part of her life that she kept from me. So she was very open to sharing everything with me. I went from being fan far away to assistant right overnight to immediate friend, best friend, mentor, guide, partner, lucky charm. I was like everything. And so I was mindful and respectful as I wrote the script because I wanted to show this friendship, but I didn't need to go into necessarily really ugly or unsavory, weird, tacky places to tell this story. So I'm not someone who wants to exploit anyone, and I want to protect people from that, quite frankly. So there's a way to tell a story of a person's life and a relationship without going there, you know? So because that would have been a different movie. Similar, actually, but different. I really do feel like Sally exposes herself in this movie very vulnerable, raw way, which is so refreshing. This is definitely one of the first movies. I can find no examples to dispute this. Maybe the first movie where a lead actress plays herself on the big screen in a not in a role with that's kind of like a um with a bunch of characters playing themselves. She's
Right.
the only one playing herself, and everyone else is acting. Well, she's acting too as herself.
So SallyWood directly confronts the situation of ageism in Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
It shows a talented actress. She was struggling to find roles.
Yeah.
Do you view the film as a form of artistic activism? And what responsibility do filmmakers have to challenge the industry's obsession with youth and novelty
Oh,
that it seems to have, especially when it comes to women in the industry?
it's so true. Listen, right before made SallyWood, I moved to Florida to take care of my parents. They were both dying and they needed my help. So I left LA and moved to Florida. And boy, what another planet here. I'm in Florida right now. This is where I live right now. So, in Florida, people are their age. And it's a state that embraces, senior living. Elderly people famously move here. Look at the Golden Girls. I mean, look, the list is long. Look at all of the things that Florida is known for older retired people. Sally, by the way, never retired. Like actors don't retire. They just act and then they die.
Artists don't retire, they just get worse gigs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they just keep working. Like, and then eventually they stop breathing and then but it's not over, actually, as Sally has proven. It continues. So, but to answer your question, ageism is rampant in every industry, not just the entertainment industry. It's a terrible thing. I consider it the last acceptable prejudice in our country. It's not challenged a lot. And, youth, as they should, graduate from college and get jobs, and then they end up in positions where they just want to see more youth. And so the older people get phased out, and I think it's changing a little tiny bit, but it needs to change more because let me just say, the older people are where it's at.
Yes.
I live currently in Florida in a building with everyone's in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then some. And they're delightful, and they have so many stories and so much humor and so much, wisdom and experience, and they're funnier and they're sharp. So in casting this film, I'm very proud and happy to say I have a wonderful older cast. Like my older cast have collectively been nominated for 5 Academy Awards, and one has won one, and many other awards, and they're illustrious and world known. And then I have my younger cast. And I love this multi-generational storytelling where you have younger characters interacting with older characters, much as I interact with my mother now, who lives across the street, because it's endless humor, it's endless rich area to mine for storytelling.
Yes. It's a truth in memoir here. The film is loosely based on a true story.
Yes. Or not so loosely based.
How did you decide which elements of your real life relationship with her to fictionalize for the sake of the narrative? And what is the single most important truth about the relationship you felt compelled to preserve in the final
Wow.
cut?
Wow. Your questions are so powerful and beautiful. So okay, when you're writing a screenplay, are you a writer?
Yes.
Okay, so you must know that it's a minute a page in a screenplay. A page equals a minute of screen time. So I didn't want this movie to be over 90 minutes long. I think 90 minutes is perfect for a comedy. And any story I want to tell, my exciting challenge is let's make it in 90 minutes. Like let's tell that story and not make it 2 hours long, especially for comedies. So I wanted to keep this comedic and lighthearted. I didn't want it to become, melodramatic, overdramatic, or sad. Even though I can weave sadness in, I like layers of things happening, and sometimes layers happen without our even willing it, like Sally passing into spirit. Now the movie has a new layer that just happened because of nature. So I knew that I had to tell the nuts and bolts story of my growing up loving her, my going to LA and meeting her, her taking me on as an assistant and the first steps of that, which were all nuts. And then the friendship that kind of evolves, taking her home for Christmas, helping her get into my roommate's movie, well, all these other things that I feel like were important to tell. And of course, 50 million things end up on the cutting room floor because I have a 23-year relationship with this woman. So I have to figure out what were the specific bullet point highlights that I need in the movie. At the point where Michael Levitt and Henry Winkler hired me to be their assistant, which was where I went post Sally, played by Michael Lerner, who plays Ned Levitt in the movie. His final screen performance, by the way, and he's brilliant. Amazing actor. He was nominated for Barton Fink, Best Supporting Actor in the Oscars in 1990, and he's the CEO in Elf. Like he's been in so many movies over the years and decades and Broadway and you name it. So I was thrilled to have him and, leaving Sally to work for Michael Levitt and Henry Winkler, of course, who's world famous as Happy Days and Arrested Development
Franz.
what's the HBO series he just won for? Barry. Okay, and his books, he's brilliant. He's a wonderful man. I love Michael Levitt. I love them both. I had to put that in the movie because she was going through these withdrawals of my not being her assistant anymore and then would confront them. I mean, it was like,
Your intergenerational friendship with her. So the bond between your character, Xaque, and Sally basically forms the heart of the film. So what philosophical insights did you experience yield about intergenerational mentorship and friendship, particularly in a cutthroat industry where relationships are often transactional?
right. And in a cutthroat industry where people are cynical, and I'm not cynical. I'm not sarcastic or cynical. I don't even do that at all. Sally wasn't either. She was not cynical or sarcastic usually. She was very truthful and she was labeled as kind of crazy and wild by a lot of people, but that's because she was just really honest and really herself. And sometimes when you're really yourself, people don't know what to do with that. So, I mean, she was famous for being very sexual and being very spiritual. And sexual and spiritual in America don't go together at all. But it went together in her mind perfectly. It was like, well, yeah, I can be nude and I'm a minister. It's like, okay, people are like, she's crazy. But she wasn't crazy. She was just herself. And I was very accepting of her. I wanted to be her friend. You know, I wanted this friendship to work and last. I didn't want to like, I could have quit after the first night having to sleep on the art gallery floor. I mean, you know, she put me through some weird stuff that first day that a lot of people would have quit. They would have just said, well, okay, you know, I'm good. But I thought, wow, she doesn't have anybody. And frankly, I don't have anybody. I'm new in LA. Who do I have? You know, so let's make this work. Maybe we're going to become a team. And and she was dying for a loved one because she didn't have family, children, or husband, you know, or siblings. Her parents had passed, and she was really alone in the world. And I was suddenly alone in the world. So it's a beautiful thing when two people connect like that,
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
and it doesn't always work, but in our case, it worked really well. And wow, to have a movie now that everyone gets to see this story unfold, which I never, it's not like I was pitching this movie and determined to make this movie as my goal in life. This movie just happened. And it's kind of a mystical thing. And it's mystical even now with her passing away as the movie, passing into spirit as the movie is released to the world. It's simultaneous cosmic energy.
Her performance in Anna, I think it was in '87. That was kind of the catalyst for Zach's journey.
Yes.
How much of SallyWood is a meditation on the power of a single great performance to fundamentally alter the course of a fan or audience member's life as it did yours?
Listen, the purpose of art, and I mean art meaning in every form, dance, drama, painting, music, songs, movies, architecture, whatever it is, whatever is the artistic thing that's presented to us, the greatest thing that can happen is that it connects with a person, that it connects with an audience. There are certain songs when they come on the radio that I cry. I just am moved to tears.
I heard there was a percentage of people, there's only a small percentage who get goosebumps when they hear a song.
Right, I do. Certain songs. Certain songs are so emotional to me that there are days I can't hear them. Like it will slow me down because it's so powerful. That list is short, but there are some. And then there are songs that when they come on the radio, I just crank it up and I'm singing at the top of my lungs. I can't not do that. Okay. I can't, like, when it comes on, I'm like, oh my God, that's my song. Oh my God. And then I'm just singing, and the world can just take a back seat as I'm driving my vehicle, singing out loud. I'm paying attention to the road, you know, but it's, so to connect with an audience emotionally, is the most beautiful thing. And so now I hope I'm answering your question.
You are. You are.
Because I connected with Anna emotionally at a very young age, and it's because of her performance. And I felt so much for that character who was struggling in New York City, ejected from Czechoslovakia during the communist years, struggling to try to continue her life. And the performance was so real that I thought she was Czech for the longest time. And when I met her and she had an American accent, I was thrown. Because even though I knew she was American, I was expecting Anna to be talking to me. And yeah, I even had dreams of Anna and meeting Anna. Um, I have that with certain performers, actually. They come into my dreams. Kate Bush, Annie Lennox, certain people, they come into my dreams and talk to me, and I'm friends with them in my dreams. It's so great. Then I wake up and I go, oh, that was a dream. But this was a dream that turned real.
On the illusion of Hollywood, which it is. SallyWood often breaks the fourth wall with its mockumentary style. So, what was your goal in using that technique to expose the artifice of Hollywood? Did you aim to dispel the magic of Tinseltown or simply to show the absurdity behind the curtain there?
A little of both, but to tell you the truth, those moments where the actors are talking to the screen were not in the original script. They were something we had to do because what happened was, Joby, after we finished wrapping the film, after we filmed the whole thing, the actual script, um, I realized we needed more footage. We needed a little bit more from certain characters to fill in some gray areas that were a little too ambiguous. And all of a sudden, the COVID pandemic started, which was devastating to Hollywood because there was, as you know, everything was shut down. No one could be together. Everybody had to be apart. And this was at the start of our post-production, and I suddenly couldn't go to LA anymore and film my cast in scenes. It was impossible. So what we did was we had to, in a hazmat box, send them the camera so they could actually just turn it on in their house and or in their garden or wherever they were sitting and look at it and just improv lines into the camera. They had to do their own hair and makeup and lighting. And I just thought, God help us all, because I have no control over audio, lighting, makeup, nothing. And this is a weird way to make a movie or finish a movie. So we had suddenly all this great new footage of clips of each person, tons of funny clips of them talking at the screen. And our challenge was, how do we weave this in now? And we figured out a way to do it where Xaque is basically videotaping them on his cell phone, as you can see the little record button.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a new timeline within the movie, which is when she says at the end, "What should we call our movie?" And then it says SallyWood. It's like we have just written the movie that he wants to make with her, Sally. So it all tied together like puzzle pieces. I mean, it was like we had all these puzzle pieces, and I said, okay, we're going to make this puzzle fit. And we did. And oh my gosh, what a feat. I thank my editor, Andrew Wilsack, wherever he is. I love him. This was his first feature he edited. It was a beast of a task in a shutdown world.
On that comedy of tragedy, so to speak, the film blends genuine pathos, like, a struggling artist, with outright absurdity at some times. Kind of like it reminded me of the outer space zombie chicks in the prison plotline. And how do you balance the comedy of the underlining tragedy of a once very prominent artist fighting to maintain dignity and relevance in Hollywood?
That was natural to her. I mean, that was her life. So she read the script when I first wrote it, and I didn't know what her reaction would be. She took a weekend to read it, and she said, "You've written me as the world's biggest narcissist, and I can't wait to play myself this way." She loved every word that I wrote, which, by the way, was everything she said to me and everything I said back to her over the years. I have a great memory, so I wrote it all down. I remembered it like it was yesterday, and I just wrote it as it happened. I didn't change things as far as dialogue between she and I go. Everything she said was correct. And so it's just inherent in her being her playing herself, that there's this layer of, like you called it, tragedy, sort of, underneath the glitter, underneath the famous actress, Sally Kirkland. I mean, there is a human being underneath us all, no matter what we do, and there's no escaping it.
So how do you personally define success as an artist in Hollywood?
That's such a good question, because Hollywood defines success as big box office, and if you don't hit your mark box office wise, you're a failure, which I find so ridiculous, because many movies over the years did not hit their mark box office wise and are treasured now.
Shawshank Redemption.
Right. Or The Wizard of Oz, or Donnie Darko, or the list is long. Okay. The list is very long of movies that in their initial run didn't click commercially, but now like people can't get enough. And so to me, like I said before, to connect with an audience emotionally and cognitively, where it makes you think and it makes you feel and it makes you want to revisit it and it inspires you to be something or think something, a new thought, or I'm a visual fine artist. I draw and I paint. I have my art degree from Pratt Institute. That's my art on the wall behind me. I love making art. I'm making art all the time. Movies inspire me. So does music. So does theater. So does all different things to make art. And so, I feel like this is really how you measure success, is to see how does it affect you. If something really affects you and moves you, forget box office. It's about that. That's success.
Yeah, you essentially cast your friend and your idol and is subject to play a version of herself in a story written by you. So how did this immense level of artistic and personal vulnerability impact your choices as a director? And what was the most surprising thing you learned about yourself during the process?
Wow, your questions are heavy and good. What did I learn about myself? Well, I learned that I have the patience of a saint. Okay. It was a few years in the making this movie. And that's just the fact. And you have to, uh, you have to just kind of bury your ego and be a collaborator. Um, yes, I wrote and directed this movie and I lived this movie, but I don't walk around like some big arrogant person. I directed and wrote this movie at all. Um, I'm an artist. I made this movie. I make paintings. I write things. I teach. I do all these things. I'm not. Um, I'm really interested in telling stories and working with people and learning from people. I mean, everybody on my set I was learning from. This was my first feature, so I had a lot to learn. So what did I learn about myself? Everything. I mean, before making this movie, I had made short films and I had worked in television, but I'd never directed and wrote a feature. This is a beast of a task. So, and you have to be patient and you have to be a collaborator. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen when you're making a movie. It's not just you and your canvas. It's you and untold people. Still, now that the film's in distribution, I have a whole new set of new people to work with, the distributors, the theater distributors, the theater owners, the audience is coming. There's all, the reviewers who I'll never meet or know who are saying wonderful things or terrible things. They're all part of it. And so, yeah, it's a lot of individuals that you just have to. I would be great in a zombie apocalypse. I would be great in like a terrorist country. I know how to work with difficult people. I really do. I know how zombies are difficult, undead people, but yes.
So I want to dissent from the movie for a bit. I also researched that you directed or produced or you were involved in the Michael Jackson's memorial.
Oh, yeah. I stood by his coffin the entire service. That was sort of my station. I also got to work with the whole Jackson family.
I have spent 41 years as a Michael Jackson tribute artist.
What? Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That is so amazing.
Yeah, I've met the Jacksons. I actually have a letter from Michael Jackson. I did print work for him overseas. I would appear in magazines and stuff. So he sent me a letter signed by him as an official substitute.
Oh, wow. This is so incredible, Joby. I can feel the Michael Jackson energy coming from you a little bit. Oh my gosh, Off the Wall was one of my very first albums I ever owned. I love that album so much. Of course, I love Thriller. I loved him, and whatever people say about him, the music will last longer. It will just, I mean, Off the Wall is one of the songs when it comes on the radio, I have to turn that up. I don't hear that often enough.
But regarding Michael's memorial, how did you reconcile the authenticity of of private grief for the family to begin with the inherent need for the public spectacle and entertainment and mass media broadcast? At any point, does producing a memorial of a person on such a grand stature risk transforming sincere mourning into a like must see TV kind of thing?
Here's the thing with Michael Jackson. He he was a man, of course, a private man, but he was part of the whole world. He even wrote We Are the World. I mean, he was kind of like, it's so weird to say this, but it was like he was owned by the whole world. I mean, the whole world knew him, loved him from a toddler age. So he was part of everyone's life everywhere. New Zealand, Africa, the Americas, Antarctica, like even where there's no people, there was Michael Jackson. So it was he was on such a big scale his whole life, so public, so inescapable on the radio and in media that his funeral had to be that way. I mean, because we had to reach everyone. So all the networks aired it at the same time.
Yeah.
All the networks stopped their programming to air this special, which we had a weekend to put together. A weekend. It was 4th of July. It was 4th of July weekend. We all worked for free. We did it as a gift for the Jackson family. It was like producing the Grammys in a weekend. And we had an enormous amount of talent come aboard, of course.
How much responsibility did you feel to be a historian versus a eulogist?
Um, well, they kind of go hand in hand, I mean, because of who you're talking about. Michael Jackson, you can't talk about pop music history and not have Michael Jackson in there. There's just no, he was ever present from 1970 to even still. It's like Sally Kirkland. He passes into spirit, but not a day goes by where I don't hear a Michael Jackson song still. I just heard somebody's watching me, and my mom's like, "That's Michael Jackson." I'm like, "Well, yes," on the chorus. I think maybe he even had a hand in writing that. I don't know, but no, he's everywhere still, and I, I will love Michael Jackson forever. The list of deceased people that I love, Karen Carpenter, oh my gosh, Jim Henson, oh my gosh. The list is so long of the people who've made an impact on my life, who've deceased, who I will treasure forever and are alive with me forever.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to face the music, Xaque.
Look, 2 big thumbs up for Joby.
As a journalist, I am committed to transcending my profession as much as I can. So with that in mind, do you have any comments or critiques of this interview and anything you'd like to add?
Well, first of all, you're terrific. I love the colors behind you. Yeah, I can feel your good energy and your enthusiasm for life. I love that because I have that too. And let's just make more movies together.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Safe travels.
Thank you very
Have a good
much.
day.
Thank